go back live, pardon the siren, and in the meantime we've had a little bit more rain, so the track at the moment is just a little bit slippery as we go into the second heat of the final round of the Australian Sports Sedan Championship. They're ready to go. We take you up to our commentary position, and Paul Harrington and Neil Crompton.
But we're now ready for the start of the second 13-lap part of the final round of the Australian Sports Sedan Championship. The flag is up and down. Grid positions the same as for the first heat, with Jim Richards getting a brilliant start, but none better than Tony Edmondson and John Briggs. And it's Edmondson into the lead from John Briggs in the Monza. Jim Richards forcing Briggs out into Repco, Alan Grice in fourth again, and the rest of the field behind. Tony Edmondson on the inside. John Briggs sneaks in front. So there we have Richards already back to third place. Briggs trying to do a repeat of his first heat act, when indeed he broke the lap record with a 1 minute 7 seconds. The record was equalled by Richards, 1 minute 7.7, but also beaten by Tony Edmondson with 1 minute 7.5. Briggs lighting out from the rest as he goes over Rothman's Rise, and Richards through to second again. It's a repeat of the first heat. Incredible racing. Edmondson in third place, and once again Alan Grice holding back with the Craven-Meyer BMW turbocharged car. Approaching the causeway, still Briggs from Richards, nothing between them, with Tony Edmondson in third place. The track a little bit wet, so they had to be careful, and there Richard takes a curve onto the main straight. Richards looking for a way round the Monza.
And the rain still coming down as these two front runners go down the main straight. And of course Jim Richards, reputed to be a top wet weather man, as he goes into the lead in the Falcon to the left-hander at Repco, and John Briggs back into second place, standing lap time of 1 minute 16.49.
There was no after you, Claude, there was a solid clunk in the side as Richard went by the Monza, and now he's sandwiched between the Falcon and the Repco powered Alfetta. Briggs knows he has the battle ahead of him, but prepared to stay reasonably cool. None cooler, of course, than Alan Grice. Oh, and smoke coming from the Falcon over the top of Rothman's. That doesn't bode too well for the New Zealand driver, Jim Richards.
A little bit of panel work flapping on the Falcon on the rear left-hand side.
That could have been a result of the contact with the Monza as he went under it into Repco corner. It was a fairly solid contact. So that could be a tyre rubbing, although we'll wait to find that out later. Briggs in second place with Edmondson ranging alongside. Edmondson has the best line for Repco corner, but it's not the fastest. Now it is. He's able to pull across whenever he likes. Difficult car to drive, short wheelbase, lots of power, squirt and point.
They're actually going to pull that car down on Tuesday morning and put in a new Chevrolet engine, and they're also going to do quite a few geometric changes to the chassis of the car to try and eliminate that problem where the car comes out of corners, and as you said, Paul, it's very snap and point.
Edmondson almost sitting in the back seat of the car. The only real resemblance to an Alfetta is the bodywork. Elsewhere it's pure racing model. Further back down the field, Graham Winkup's Monza, Parkinson's Commodore, Murray Carter. There's Alan Moffat just behind his old battling companion in Fords. But I suppose we could say Mazdas are Fords nowadays.
It does seem to prove that the Mazda's not the fire breather that everybody thought, and it is competitive with other touring cars, Paul.
Well, in fact, as Alan Moffat says, and is quite true, it's there for reliability. And in a long race where we've seen sports sedans fall apart at the seams, he would obviously be an advantage over distances. Actually watching his telecast to prove a point on the Mazda. Jim Richards up the back straight. Car moving around on the suspension. Over the top, very stable, wide-tracked, long wheelbase car, certainly in comparison to the others.
This particular car was originally for sale earlier in the year, wasn't it, at one stage?
Well, there's many a slip twixt couple of lippers, they say. And Jim Richards enjoying the fruits of his own work. That of Murray Bunn, the engine builder from New Zealand. Great team built this car over there. Just 2 laps remaining. Streaks up the main straight. No further signs of the smoke, which must have been just a rubbing tyre.
Edmondson still in second place, coming through the traffic and almost catapulting off Parkinson's Commodore.
Six-cylinder engine Tirana just behind there, the red car we saw. Third of that group.
And you can see John Briggs in the other Monza further back.
Obviously in mechanical trouble. It's all Jim Richards. After the battle in the first heat, he's making quite sure that this track, now drying, is not going to recreate that battle. Shame for us, but good luck for him. Huge oil cooler under the rear of the car, or transmission cooler. Many aerodynamic aids, the front spoiler to prevent air, the wing at the back to hold the rear down, cut down on oversteer.
And he's coming up now to 1 lap to go. And it really is amazing that Jim Richards, who is a man that doesn't really race all that many times in a year, how he can do so well. Of course, he partnered Peter Brock in his 1980 win in the Hardy Ferrado 1000 at Mount Panorama, and can step into a sports sedan, a touring car, or whatever is offering at the time. Seems to do very, very well.
Well, the inbred talent will come out no matter what.
During the week, as a proprietor of a Jane T-Mart in Coburg.
It's a tireless worker. Over Rothman's rise for the last time. Into the S's. Left, right, left. Down into Goodyear. There is Tony Edmondson, and that's the gap. Second place to the Alfetta, a car that has run brilliantly all year, had its offs now and then, but generally built up a points lead that's unbeatable at this point in the season. A very worthy champion too, Tony Edmondson, backed by Don Elliott from Tasmania. And here we have the winner of this two-part race. At least the second part of it anyway. We'll have to work out the points later. Jim Richards with the Falcon.
And a race time of 15 minutes, 4 seconds. And a couple of other tenths here and there. 15 minutes, 4 seconds, 0.22 in fact. So another good win for Jim Richards in the Falcon.
Well, it's been an interesting sports sedan year this year. We've had some very, very fine races and some terribly dull ones. But I think overall, this final day has been one of highlights for sure. Tony Edmondson coming up to the start-finish line just behind Jim Richards. And Tony Edmondson, as I say, our champion for 1980.